Hey guys, tonight, we're going to step back into a time and place that is incredibly quiet, vast, and cold. We're going to follow the ancient circular logic of the Sami reindeer migrations in the Arctic. Now let's be brutally honest for a moment. If you were actually dropped into this world with your current set of skills, you'd likely find the experience challenging. The sheer silence, the biting wind, the fact that your entire life depends on your ability to understand an animal. It is a world away from everything we know. You'd probably be asking for a thermostat on day one. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. It is a quiet, no-pressure way of letting me know I'm on the right track. And as you settle in, maybe drop a comment telling me what city you're listening from and what time it is for you. It is always fascinating to see where these stories land. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Your world for now is very small. It is a circle of warmth about 15 feet across, cocooned in reindeer hide and thick woolen cloth. This is the Fei your home, and it is more than a tent. It is the center of your universe. Outside the late winter landscape of Sami, the land of the Sami people, is a vast expanse of white and gray, scoured by a wind that carries the scent of ice from 1,000 miles away. But in here, the air is thick with the familiar comforting smells of wood smoke, brewing birch tea, and the faint, oily scent of treated leather. The only sound is the soft crackle and hiss of the central fire, its flames dancing upwards towards the smoke hole at the peak of the cone. A single, ever-watchful eye open to the dark sky. You are lying on a bed of soft reindeer furs laid over a springy mattress of birch twigs that keeps the deep, penetrating cold of the earth from seeping into your bones. Around you, the other members of your your extended family and working group, are asleep. You can hear their slow, rhythmic breathing, a gentle human counterpoint to the fire's soft song. Life in the Fei. The deep winter is a life lived in slow motion. It is a time for conserving energy, for mending tools, for stories, and for waiting. Time itself feels different here. It is not a line stretching forwards and backwards, but a deep frozen pool. The sun has been a distant memory for months, a brief pale smudge on the southern horizon that barely earned the name of daylight before vanishing again. This conical dwelling, the Fei, is a masterpiece of engineering born from necessity. Its wooden poles are light enough to be transported, yet strong enough to withstand the crushing weight of snow and the force of a gale. The reindeer hides that form its skin are expertly stitched together, overlapping to shed water and block the wind. It can be taken down and set up again in less time than it takes to cook a meal. A portable home for a nomadic people. Historians and archaeologists still debate the exact timeline of when your ancestors fully embraced this nomadic lifestyle, tying their existence so completely to the great reindeer herds. The lines of evidence from ancient campsites to linguistic clues draw a complex map across northern Eurasia. But the precise moment your people decided to follow the reindeer's call is lost to the snows of time. You shift slightly on your furs, the leather of your clothes making a soft creaking sound. Even your position within the Fei is not random. It is part of a silent, unspoken grammar. The space is divided, with the area directly opposite the door being the most honored spot reserved for the family elders or important tools. Your place is your own, a small territory in the shared circle of warmth. This is a strange and wonderful piece of forgotten knowledge. The floor of your home is a carefully layered map of survival. The birch twigs are not just for comfort, they are a breathable barrier against the dampness of the snow beneath. The layers of fur are insulation, a gift from the very animals your life depends on. It is an elegant system perfected over countless generations. But as you lie here, listening to the wind wrapping itself around the Fei, you feel a subtle change. It is not something you can see or hear. It is a shift in the air pressure, a different texture to the silence. It is a feeling deep in your bones that the great frozen sleep of winter is nearing its end. The stillness is about to break. Hey guys, tonight, we're going to step back into a time and place that is incredibly quiet, vast, and cold. We're going to follow the ancient circular logic of the Sami reindeer migrations in the Arctic. Now let's be brutally honest for a moment. If you were actually dropped into this world with your current set of skills, you'd likely find the experience challenging. The sheer silence, the biting wind, the fact that your entire life depends on your ability to understand an animal. It is a world away from everything we know. You'd probably be asking for a thermostat on day one. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. It is a quiet, no-pressure way of letting me know I'm on the right track. And as you settle in, maybe drop a comment telling me what city you're listening from and what time it is for you. It is always fascinating to see where these stories land. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Your world for now is very small. It is a circle of warmth about 15 feet across, cocooned in reindeer hide and thick woolen cloth. This is the Fei, your home. And it is more than a tent. It is the center of your universe. Outside the late winter landscape of Sefbemi, the land of the Sami people, is a vast expanse of white and gray, scoured by a wind that carries the scent of ice from 1,000 miles away. But in here the air is thick with the familiar comforting smells of wood smoke, brewing birch tea, and the faint oily scent of treated leather. The only sound is the soft crackle and hiss of the central fire, its flames dancing upwards towards the smoke hole at the peak of the cone, a single ever-watchful eye open to the dark sky. You are lying on a bed of soft reindeer furs laid over a springy mattress of birch twigs that keeps the deep penetrating cold of the earth from seeping into your bones. Around you, the other members of your your extended family and working group, are asleep. You can hear their slow rhythmic breathing, a gentle human counterpoint to the fire's soft song. Life in the the deep winter, is a life lived in slow motion. It is a time for conserving energy, for mending tools, for stories, and for waiting. Time itself feels different here. It is not a line stretching forwards and backwards, but a deep frozen pool. The sun has been a distant memory for months, a brief pale smudge on the southern horizon that barely earned the name of daylight before vanishing again. This conical dwelling, the Fei, is a masterpiece of engineering born from necessity. Its wooden poles are light enough to be transported, yet strong enough to withstand the crushing weight of snow and the force of a gale. The reindeer hides that form its skin are expertly stitched together, overlapping to shed water and block the wind. It can be taken down and set up again in less time than it takes to cook a meal, a portable home for a nomadic people. Historians and archaeologists still debate the exact timeline of when your ancestors fully embraced this nomadic lifestyle, tying their existence so completely to the great reindeer herds. The lines of evidence, from ancient campsites to linguistic clues, draw a complex map across northern Eurasia. But the precise moment your people decided to follow the reindeer's call is lost to the snows of time. You shift slightly on your furs, the leather of your clothes making a soft creaking sound. Even your position within the Fei is not random. It is part of a silent, unspoken grammar. The space is divided, with the area directly opposite the door being the most honored spot reserved for the family elders or important tools. Your place is your own, a small territory in the shared circle of warmth. This is a strange and wonderful piece of forgotten knowledge. The floor of your home is a carefully layered map of survival. The birch twigs are not just for comfort. They are a breathable barrier against the dampness of the snow beneath. The layers of fur are insulation, a gift from the very animals your life depends on. It is an elegant system perfected over countless generations. But as you lie here listening to the wind wrapping itself around the Fei, you feel a subtle change. It is not something you can see or hear. It is a shift in the air pressure, a different texture to the silence. It is a feeling deep in your bones that the great frozen sleep of winter is nearing its end. The stillness is about to break. Hey guys, tonight, we're going to step back into a time and place that is incredibly quiet, vast, and cold. We're going to follow the ancient circular logic of the Sami reindeer migrations in the Arctic. Now let's be brutally honest for a moment. If you were actually dropped into this world with your current set of skills, you'd likely find the experience challenging. The sheer silence, the biting wind, the fact that your entire life depends on your ability to understand an animal. It is a world away from everything we know. You'd probably be asking for a thermostat on day one. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. It is a quiet, no-pressure way of letting me know I'm on the right track. And as you settle in, maybe drop a comment telling me what city you're listening from and what time it is for you. It is always fascinating to see where these stories land. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Your world for now is very small. It is a circle of warmth about 15 feet across, cocooned in reindeer hide and thick woolen cloth. This is the Fei your home, and it is more than a tent. It is the center of your universe. Outside the late winter landscape of Sami, the land of the Sami people, is a vast expanse of white and gray scoured by a wind that carries the scent of ice from 1,000 miles away. But in here, the air is thick with the familiar comforting smells of wood smoke, brewing birch tea, and the faint oily scent of treated leather. The only sound is the soft crackle and hiss of the central fire, its flames dancing upwards towards the smoke hole at the peak of the cone, a single ever-watchful eye open to the dark sky. You are lying on a bed of soft reindeer furs laid over a springy mattress of birch twigs that keeps the deep penetrating cold of the earth from seeping into your bones. Around you, the other members of your your extended family and working group, are asleep. You can hear their slow rhythmic breathing, a gentle human counterpoint to the fire's soft song. Life in the the deep winter, is a life lived in slow motion. It is a time for conserving energy, for mending tools, for stories, and for waiting. Time itself feels different here. It is not a line stretching forwards and backwards, but a deep frozen pool. The sun has been a distant memory for months, a brief pale smudge on the southern horizon that barely earned the name of daylight before vanishing again. This conical dwelling, the Fei is a masterpiece of engineering born from necessity. Its wooden poles are light enough to be transported, yet strong enough to withstand the crushing weight of snow and the force of a gale. The reindeer hides that form its skin are expertly stitched together, overlapping to shed water and block the wind. It can be taken down and set up again in less time than it takes to cook a meal, a portable home for a nomadic people. Historians and archaeologists still debate the exact timeline of when your ancestors fully embraced this nomadic lifestyle, tying their existence so completely to the great reindeer herds. The lines of evidence from ancient campsites to linguistic clues draw a complex map across northern Eurasia. But the precise moment your people decided to follow the reindeer's call is lost to the snows of time. You shift slightly on your furs, the leather of your clothes making a soft creaking sound. Even your position within the Fei is not random. It is part of a silent, unspoken grammar. The space is divided, with the area directly opposite the door being the most honored spot reserved for the family elders or important tools. Your place is your own, a small territory in the shared circle of warmth. This is a strange and wonderful piece of forgotten knowledge. The floor of your home is a carefully layered map of survival. The birch twigs are not just for comfort. They are a breathable barrier against the dampness of the snow beneath. The layers of fur are insulation, a gift from the very animals your life depends on. It is an elegant system perfected over countless generations. But as you lie here listening to the wind wrapping itself around the Fei, you feel a subtle change. It is not something you can see or hear. It is a shift in the air pressure, a different texture to the silence. It is a feeling deep in your bones that the great frozen sleep of winter is nearing its end. The stillness is about to break. Hey guys, tonight, we're going to step back into a time and place that is incredibly quiet, vast, and cold. We're going to follow the ancient circular logic of the Sami reindeer migrations in the Arctic. Now let's be brutally honest for a moment. If you were actually dropped into this world with your current set of skills, you'd likely find the experience challenging. The sheer silence, the biting wind, the fact that your entire life depends on your ability to understand an animal. It is a world away from everything we know. You'd probably be asking for a thermostat on day one, so before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do. It is a quiet, no-pressure way of letting me know I'm on the right track. And as you settle in, maybe drop a comment telling me what city you're listening from and what time it is for you. It is always fascinating to see where these stories land. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Your world for now is very small. It is a circle of warmth about 15 feet across, cocooned in reindeer hide and thick woolen cloth. This is the Fei your home, and it is more than a tent. It is the center of your universe. Outside the late winter landscape of Sami, the land of the Sami people, is a vast expanse of white and gray scoured by a wind that carries the scent of ice from 1,000 miles away. But in here, the air is thick with the familiar comforting smells of wood smoke, brewing birch tea, and the faint oily scent of treated leather. The only sound is the soft crackle and hiss of the central fire, its flames dancing upwards towards the smoke hole at the peak of the cone. A single ever-watchful eye open to the dark sky. You are lying on a bed of soft reindeer furs laid over a springy mattress of birch twigs that keeps the deep penetrating cold of the earth from seeping into your bones. Around you, the other members of your your extended family and working group are asleep. You can hear their slow rhythmic breathing, a gentle human counterpoint to the fire's soft song. Life in the Fey. The deep winter is a life lived in slow motion. It is a time for conserving energy, for mending tools, for stories, and for waiting. Time itself feels different here. It is not a line stretching forwards and backwards, but a deep frozen pool. The sun has been a distant memory for months, a brief pale smudge on the southern horizon that barely earned the name of daylight before vanishing again. This conical dwelling, the Fei, is a masterpiece of engineering born from necessity. Its wooden poles are light enough to be transported, yet strong enough to withstand the crushing weight of snow and the force of a gale. The reindeer hides that form its skin are expertly stitched together, overlapping to shed water and block the wind. It can be taken down and set up again in less time than it takes to cook a meal, a portable home for a nomadic people. Historians and archaeologists still debate the exact timeline of when your ancestors fully embraced this nomadic lifestyle, tying their existence so completely to the great reindeer herds. The lines of evidence, from ancient campsites to linguistic clues, draw a complex map across northern Eurasia. But the precise moment your people decided to follow the reindeer's call is lost to the snows of time. You shift slightly on your furs, the leather of your clothes making a soft creaking sound. Even your position within the Fei is not random. It is part of a silent, unspoken grammar. The space is divided, with the area directly opposite the door being the most honored spot, reserved for the family elders or important tools. Your place is your own, a small territory in the shared circle of warmth. This is a strange and wonderful piece of forgotten knowledge. The floor of your home is a carefully layered map of survival. The birch twigs are not just for comfort. They are a breathable barrier against the dampness of the snow beneath. The layers of fur are insulation, a gift from the very animals your life depends on. It is an elegant system perfected over countless generations. But as you lie here, listening to the wind wrapping itself around the Fei, you feel a subtle change. It is not something you can see or hear. It is a shift in the air pressure, a different texture to the silence. It is a feeling deep in your bones that the great frozen sleep of winter is nearing its end. The stillness is about to break. There is no grand announcement, no starting gun. The movement begins as a ripple, a slow collective exhale. The lead matriarch, who has been standing like a statue carved from snow and patience, lowers her head and begins to walk. Another reindeer follows her, then another, and then 10 more. Suddenly, a section of the herd surges forward, a living wave of fur and bone. The stillness is shattered, replaced by a symphony of quiet action. The air fills with the creak of 100 leather harnesses, the soft percussive thump of thousands of hooves on snow, and the ever-present gentle clicking of their leg tendons, a sound that will become the soundtrack to your life for the next several weeks. It is a moment of controlled chaos. You are on a pair of long wooden skis gliding along the flank of the herd. Your own Fei is tied to its reindeer, which has already been absorbed into the moving mass. Your job now is not to pull or push, but to guide the flow. Beside you, your dog, a lean and intelligent Laponian herder, watches you intently, awaiting your command. This dog is not a pet. It is a working partner, as essential to the migration as your skis or your knife. A low whistle from you sends it darting off a black streak against the white snow, to turn back a few stray animals that were beginning to wander from the main group. The dog doesn't bark aggressively, but rather circles and nudges, applying gentle pressure to guide the reindeer back into the river of movement. From a raven's perspective, your Fei is a single sprawling organism, a gray-brown river flowing across the white canvas of the land. It is a sight of immense scale, yet your focus is on the small details. A young reindeer stumbling in a deep drift, an older bull moving slowly at the rear. Historians and oral traditions sometimes speak of colossal migrations from this era, a single unified sea of antlers moving across the tundra. Yet archaeological findings from campsites often point to smaller, more scattered family groups. Perhaps both are true. You know there are other Fei moving today, miles to the north and south of you, like ghosts on the horizon. You are all part of the same great pulse, a nation on the move, without a fixed address, following the same ancient pull. As you ski keeping pace with the herd, you begin to fei. It is not a song in the modern sense. It has few, if any, words. It is a series of sounds, a melody that is uniquely yours, as identifiable as your face. In the vastness of this landscape, the fei is your signature. It tells the other herders on the far side of the herd where you are. It is a tool for communication, a way of painting your presence onto the air. Some say a specific fei can calm the animals, while another can be used to warn of predators. It is a deeply personal, ancient form of expression, and as the notes leave your lips, they are swept away by the wind, a fleeting human prayer in a world of immense non-human forces. The chaos of the first few hours begins to subside. The initial frantic surge of energy settles into a steady, sustainable rhythm. The reindeer are no longer jostling for position, but are walking with a shared, determined purpose. They have found the current. The sun, which had been a brief and welcome novelty, is already beginning its descent toward the horizon, painting the snow in pale shades of lavender and rose. The day's work is far from over, but the first most difficult step has been taken. The great river is flowing, and you have found your place within it. As the sky deepens from bruised purple to a blackness pricked with stars, the journey continues. The herd does not stop simply because the sun has vanished. Theirs is a rhythm dictated by energy and instinct, not by the clockwork of day and night. In this twilight world, the landscape transforms into a place of subtle clues and silent guides. You have no charts, no compass, nothing but the knowledge passed down to you, and the vast, intricate map you carry in your mind. Navigation here is not an act of calculation, it is an act of perception. It is a constant flowing dialogue with the world around you. You glance up at the sky. There, in its familiar place, is the North Star, which your people call Fei Boaji en Feisti, the pillar of the sky. It is the one fixed point in a turning heavens, a nail, holding the black tent of the night in place. It is your most reliable friend, a constant reassuring presence, but you rarely need to stare at it. A quick glance is enough to confirm your general westward heading. The other constellations are like old friends, their shapes telling stories and marking the passage of the seasons. You don't see a hunter or a bear as other cultures might. You see patterns that relate to your own world. A great elk, a pair of skiers, the jawbone of a pike. The sky is not a foreign place but a reflection of the land beneath it, but you cannot always be looking up. Most of your navigation comes from the earth itself. The wind, which was your enemy in the winter camp, is now your partner. For weeks, the prevailing winds have blown from the same direction, sculpting the snow into long parallel ridges called Fiskavler Fay. They are like frozen dunes, their eastern faces gentle, and sloping, their western faces steep and corniced. By feeling the angle of your skis as you glide over them, you can maintain an almost perfectly straight line, even if you can't see more than a few feet ahead. It is a form of braille, a way of reading the land with your body. Cognitive scientists and anthropologists debate whether this kind of navigation is a conscious application of memorized rules. The steep side of the drift faces west, or a more holistic intuitive process where thousands of tiny cues are synthesized without conscious thought. For you, trying to break it down feels as strange as trying to explain how to breathe. You just look and you feel and you know where you are. You see the way a specific type of dark hair, like lichen, grows more thickly on the northern face of a granite boulder seeking the shade. You notice the subtle lean of the hardy birch trees bent by a lifetime of wind. These are all paragraphs in the story of the landscape, and you are a fluent reader. Perhaps the most profound navigational tool, however, is one that remains a mystery. It is the path itself. While the land looks like a pristine, untracked wilderness, you are following a route that is thousands of years old. The ground beneath the snow here is subtly different, more compacted. Some believe the reindeer can feel this ancient path through their hooves, a ghost trail that guides them. They are following a memory embedded not just in their genes but in the very soil. You are simply following their lead, trusting that they are walking in the footsteps of a million ancestors. The map is not on paper. It is all around you and inside you. Reassured, you settle into the long gliding rhythm of your skis, your body moving in time with the great herd, confident in the ancient invisible path that lays ahead. For days, the rhythm of the journey has been constant. The glide of skis, the sway of the Fei polka Fei, the steady forward flow of the herd. But now that rhythm begins to change. The pace slackens, the river of animals spreading out, slowing to a near standstill. The lead matriarch has guided you to a wide, shallow valley, a place sheltered from the worst of the wind by low rolling hills. The snow here is thinner, and the first hints of green are pushing through in stubborn patches. This is no random stopping point. This is a traditional calving ground, a place her mother and her mother's mother used before her. The Great Migration has paused for its most important purpose, to begin again. This is the vulnerable time. The air, which was filled with the sound of movement, is now thick with a watchful quiet. You and the other herders set up a temporary camp, but there is little rest. Your role shifts from guide to guardian. You spend your days and the long twilight nights on the move, circling the perimeter of the valley on your silent skis. Your eyes are constantly scanning the gray horizon, searching for any movement that seems out of place. The dogs are no longer ranging far ahead. They stay close, their ears twitching, their senses, a keen extension of your own. Every member of the Faceta Fae is on high alert. The first birth happens quietly away from the main group. A pregnant female Fae wanders to a secluded spot behind a cluster of birch trees and lies down. There is no great struggle. It is an act as natural and ancient as the rising of the sun. The newborn calf emerges, a small, dark, impossibly fragile-looking creature steaming in the cold air. The mother is instantly on her feet, turning to lick the calf vigorously. This isn't just cleaning, it is a life-saving act. The rough tongue stimulates the calf's breathing, dries its fur to ward off the deadly cold, and most importantly covers it in her scent. This is how they will know each other. In a herd of thousands, a mother can identify her calf by its unique scent alone. You watch the calf, its legs, like spindly sticks, make its first wobbly attempts to stand. It falls, then pushes itself up again, driven by an instinct more powerful than its own weakness. Within the hour it is standing, and soon after it is nursing, taking in the rich, warm milk that will fuel its explosive growth. It is a miracle of biology that this fragile creature will be able to run with the herd in less than a day. It has to be. The migration cannot wait for long. Over the next week, this scene is repeated hundreds of times across the valley. The entire herd gives birth in a remarkably short, synchronized window. This is the herd's great defense strategy, a concept biologists call predator swamping. There are simply too many newborns at once for any predator to make a significant impact. It is a brutal statistical game of survival, but it works. You watch a calf struggling more than the others, and the instinct to step in and help is a powerful pull, but you don't. This is the herd's oldest, hardest law. You are a guardian of the whole, not of the individual. Ethno. Historians debate the extent to which your ancestors would have intervened. Did they act as midwives to the herd, protecting valuable animals? Or did they maintain a stricter distance, understanding that allowing nature to cull the weak was essential for the long-term health of the herd? Your role is not to save everyone, but to give everyone a fair chance. You guard the perimeter, and let the ancient laws play out within the circle of your protection. As the last of the calves finds its legs, a new nervous energy fills the air. The herd has grown. The journey ahead is now longer, and the shadows on the edge of the tundra suddenly seem a little deeper, a little more watchful. The new nervous energy in the herd is your first warning. The animals are packed more tightly together, their heads up their nostrils, tasting the wind. They know before you do. That night, as you stand guard on a low ridge overlooking the valley, you hear it. A single long, mournful howl that rises and falls, seeming to come from all directions at once. It is answered by another, closer this time. It is the sound your people call Fay Gumpy Fay, the wolf. The howl doesn't send a jolt of fear through you, but rather a feeling of deep, focused alertness. The ancient game has begun. You feel no simple hatred for them. They are the other great hunters of this land, a people of the wind and snow, just as you are. They have families to feed, and they are masters of their craft. In some of the old stories, the most powerful Fey-Noedi Fey could understand their language, a potent reminder that the line between herder and hunter is not as solid as it might seem. But respect does not mean surrender. Your family's survival depends on the herd, and the wolves are the ultimate test of your skill as a guardian. You and the other herders move with a new quiet urgency, a silent understanding passing between you. The circle of protection around the herd tightens. The next day you see them, 4 of them moving like gray ghosts along the crest of the opposite hill. They are not charging, they are observing, testing. Wolves are coursing predators, meaning they don't rely on a single explosive ambush. Their strategy is one of patience and intelligence. They will watch the herd for hours, probing for a weakness. They are looking for a calf that strays too far from its mother, an older animal that lags behind any sign of sickness or injury. Their hunt is a series of questions posed to the herd, and it is your job to ensure the herd's answer is a firm, unified no. Your presence is your primary weapon. You and your dog ski along the flank of the herd closest to the wolves, a clear, visible challenge. You are a boundary marker. You begin a fei joak fei. But this one is different from the traveling melody you sang before. It is forceful, guttural acclaim to this territory and these animals. Your dog, sensing the shift in your mood, stays close, emitting a low growl, a sound that carries far in the still air. The goal is not necessarily to fight, but to demonstrate strength. You are communicating to the wolves that this is not an easy meal. You are showing them that this herd is protected by vigilant, capable guardians, and that any attempt to attack will be costly in terms of their own precious energy. For generations, your people have debated whether the wolf or a sudden late spring blizzard is the more dangerous foe. Scholars today echo this debate in their own way, trying to weigh the historical impact of predators against the unforgiving climate in shaping the size and success of ancient herds. As you watch the lead wolf, its intelligent yellow eyes fixed on you from across the snow, you know the truth. They are both forces of nature that must be respected, anticipated, and outsmarted. The wolves make a few half-hearted runs at the edge of the herd, but each time you or another herder is there to block the way, the dogs creating a commotion, the reindeer bunching so tightly that their antlers form an impenetrable fence. The wolves are testing your resolve, and you are not flinching. Finally, as the light begins to fail, the lead wolf gives a signal you cannot see, and the pack turns. For now, they have decided the cost is too high. You watch their dark shapes melt back into the gray twilight. You have won this silent battle, but the war is never over. The shadows are always hungry. After the encounter with the wolves, the journey resumes with a heightened sense of purpose. The herd moves steadily westward, the new calves, finding their strength, their spindly legs growing more confident with each passing day. The landscape remains a stark world of white snow and dark rock. But after several more days of travel, a profound change begins. It doesn't start with a sight, but with a smell. You're gliding on your skis, head down against the wind when you catch it. A new scent completely alien to the dry, sterile air of the interior. It is a damp, sharp, and deeply alive smell. The scent of salt and wet rock, the sea. You can smell it long before you can see or hear it. The air itself feels different. It becomes heavier, more humid, and it loses its biting edge. The snow, which has been your entire world for months, becomes patchy and reluctant, revealing the tundra floor beneath. You see vibrant green mosses, colorful lichens clinging to the rocks, and the tough, wiry blades of last year's grasses. The world is returning to color. The sky, too, seems to change. It feels wider, more open, and you begin to see new kinds of birds circling high above. Gulls with their sharp, unfamiliar cries that cut through the air, so different from the croak of the inland raven. The reindeer notice the change long before you do. A new excitement ripples through the herd. Their pace quickens. Their heads are high, eagerly tasting the salty wind. They are pulling towards this place with a force of instinct that is almost magnetic. They yearn for the lush mineral, rich grasses that grow here, essential for producing milk for their calves and for regrowing their own magnificent antlers. But they also seek refuge. The constant sea breeze is their salvation from the plague of biting insects that will soon hatch in the inland forests and swamps, a torment that can drive a herd mad. Then one afternoon you crest a final rolling hill, and there it is. Not a river, not a lake, but a vast, restless gray, blue expanse that stretches to the very edge of the world, the ocean. After months spent in the enclosed valleys and forests of the interior, the sheer scale of it is breathtaking. It is a presence, a living, breathing entity with a voice, a low, constant roar that becomes the new background sound of your life. The herd needs no encouragement. They break into a joyful, clumsy run down the final slope, fanning out across the rocky shoreline and the green coastal meadows. Some of them wade directly into the shallows, unafraid of the cold salt water, lowering their heads to drink or to lick the salt from the seaweed. Covered rocks replenishing the minerals their bodies crave. This is the place. The same stretch of coastline your grandfather's grandfather came to. Archaeologists and historians debate the rigidity of these ancient migration routes. Were they fixed, unchangeable highways? Or were they more like suggestions, with herders making opportunistic choices based on weather conditions or predator patterns from year to year? Looking at the way the herd spreads out, a collective sigh of relief seeming to pass through them as they reach this specific bay, you feel that while minor detours were always possible, the final destination was never truly in doubt. This place is written in their bones. You slide off your long skis, their work done for now, and lean them against a large boulder. You watch the reindeer, the calves already nursing greedily, the adults feasting on the fresh growth. For the first time in weeks, you allow your shoulders to drop, releasing a tension you didn't even realize you were holding. You have arrived. You are home for the summer. The relief you felt upon arrival was personal, a quiet internal unwinding. But within a day, that feeling becomes something larger, something shared. You wake one morning not just to the sound of your own faceta, fade to a chorus of new sounds carrying on the damp sea breeze. You see a plume of smoke rising from a new fei further down the bay. Its hide cover a slightly different shade than your own. You hear the sharp, happy barks of unfamiliar dogs and the faint melodic cadence of a fei that you haven't heard since last summer. Another fei has arrived, and by evening another follows. The empty coastline, which had felt like your own private sanctuary, is transforming into a bustling temporary village. After months of seeing only the faces of your immediate family, the world is suddenly full of people. The quiet focus of the migration gives way to a warm and welcome clamor. Laughter echoes between the tents. Children who were toddlers last summer are now running in small, shrieking packs across the meadows. You sit by your family's fire, but soon an old friend from another family wanders over carrying a gift of smoked fish caught that morning and settles in to share stories of his family's journey. This is the great social thawing. Information is the most valuable currency here. A story about an impassable swollen river is more than just entertainment. It is a vital piece of data that could save lives on the return journey in the autumn. News of where the wolves were most active, or which valleys had sparse lichen this year, is exchanged with the gravity of state secrets. There is no single chief here, no one person in formal charge of this sprawling summer gathering. Leadership is a fluid concept earned through wisdom, and skill not declared by title. An old man who holds the memory of 100 stories in his head might be consulted on a question of tradition. A woman known for her skill with healing herbs might be sought out for an ailing child. Your own uncle, a man known for his calm judgment and keen eye for reindeer, finds people gathering around his fire quietly seeking his opinion on the quality of the summer grazing. Anthropologists call societies like this acephalous, headless, and debate how power and decision-making truly functioned. Was it purely situational, or were there subtle, complex hierarchies invisible to an outsider's eye? Watching the easy way people defer to your uncle's quiet wisdom, you see that respect is the only real currency of power. This is also a time for trade. While your family is almost entirely self-sufficient, different fei possess different specialties. You might trade a few perfectly tanned, supple reindeer hides for a new set of expertly carved antler needles from a man renowned for his delicate fei or craft. A surplus of dried meat from your successful winter hunt might be exchanged for sealskin water bags from a group that spends more time on the immediate coast. But most importantly, this is a time for reaffirming the bonds that hold your people together. Old disputes are mediated and settled, alliances between families are strengthened, and in quiet conversations between parents, marriages are discussed and arranged, ensuring that bloodlines will not grow too narrow. It is the social glue that allows a nomadic people scattered for most of the year to function as a single cohesive nation. As the days pass, the great herds which had arrived as distinct groups begin to intermingle at the edges. 1,000 small streams are flowing into one great swirling lake of reindeer. It is a beautiful sight, a testament to your collective success. But it is also a growing logistical problem, and you know that the time is fast approaching for the most important work of the summer, the task that will untangle this beautiful chaos and re-establish ownership and order. The time for the Great Ear Marking is almost here. The day for the Great Ear Marking arrives with a sense of purpose. The entire community mobilizes, working as one. The first task is to construct the fei, the Great Corral. There is no lumber here to build permanent fences. Instead, you create a vast circular barrier from whatever is at hand. Long strips of canvas interlocking sleds laid on their sides, and in the remaining gaps the people themselves standing shoulder to shoulder to form a living wall. Then, with the practiced skill of 100 lifetimes, the herders and their dogs begin to gently guide a portion of the massive combined herd into the enclosure. The air, which had been filled with the sounds of the sea and human chatter, is now thick with the bleating of calves, the low grunts of their mothers and the sharp, efficient calls of the herders. Inside the corral it is a swirling vortex of brown and gray fur. Your job is to enter this chaos and bring order to it one calf at a time. You move into the sea of animals, your eyes scanning your movements quick and confident. It is not about brute force. It is about timing and balance. You spot a young calf unmarked, and in a few swift strides you are there, your arms wrapping around its warm, wriggling body. You lift it, holding it firmly but gently against you to calm its panic. The calf is surprisingly strong, all wiry muscle and nervous energy. Now comes the most critical part. Before you can make your mark, you must be certain the calf belongs to your faceta. You hold it, still scanning the nearby adults for its mother. A cow pushes through the crowd toward you, grunting with concern. You glance at her ear. You see the familiar pattern. The deep V shape at the top, the small notch on the bottom edge. This is your family's mark, as familiar to you as your own reflection. The calf belongs to you. Only now do you reach for the knife at your belt. It is your Festura Nabife, your everyday tool, but you keep its edge sharp enough to shave with. This is not an act of violence, but one of precision, like a scribe setting a pen to parchment. This language of cuts, the Febiergemarke Fe, is ancient and intricate. Legal historians debate whether this system evolved purely from your people's need to prevent disputes, or if it was formalized centuries ago in response to the demands of outside kingdoms who required a way to tally animals for taxation. But as you hold the calf, the academic questions are meaningless. This is about belonging. With your thumb, you brace the calf's ear. In a series of movements so quick they are almost a blur, you make the cuts. A snip here, a notch there. Each cut has a name, a specific meaning. The combination of them is your unique signature, legally recognized by every other herder. It is a sting that lasts only a second. The calf barely has time to register the discomfort before it is over. You have now written this calf's identity onto its very body. It is no longer just a generic member of the herd. It is a specific animal belonging to a specific family, its lineage and ownership clear for all to see. You release the calf, and it scrambles away, shaking its head once before darting through the legs of the other animals to find the comfort of its mother. The mark is clean. The calf is now a part of the permanent record. You take a deep breath, the scent of reindeer, and churned earth filling your lungs, and turn back into the swirling chaos to find another. All around you the same ritual is being performed. One by one, the noise of the corral gives way to a weary satisfaction as the calves are marked. The book, Keeping of the Tundra, is complete for today. With the great ear marking complete, a new rhythm settles over the summer camp. The frantic energy of the migration and the communal chaos of the corral give way to a period of focused, productive industry. The reindeer are content growing fat on the lush coastal vegetation. They require less intensive management now, freeing you and your family to turn your attention to the other bounties of the season. This is the time of plenty, a brief bright window in the year when the land and sea offer up their riches, and it is your job to gather and preserve this energy for the long, lean months to come. You walk down to the shore where a shallow river meets the sea. Here the water is a clear, cold green, and you can see the silvery flashes of fish as they dart in the current. With a few others, you wade into the frigging water, wielding nets woven from birch bark fiber. The work is cold and wet but fruitful. You haul the heavy nets to shore, their meshes writhing with Arctic char and sea. Run trout. This is a different kind of sustenance, a fresh taste of the ocean that is a welcome change after a winter of dried meat. For centuries, outsiders have defined your people almost solely by the reindeer. But that is only half the story. Archaeologists examining ancient camp refuse are beginning to understand the true diversity of the traditional Sami diet. Was the sea as important as the inland tundra? Looking at the racks that are quickly constructed to dry the day's catch, you know that survival here has never been about just one thing. It is about understanding and using everything the land offers in its proper season. While the men and older boys focus on fishing, the women and children fan out across the tundra, which is now bursting with life. You learn the art of foraging from your mother and aunts. They teach you to spot the low-lying leaves of the cloudberry plant, the feki. Finding a patch of these berries is like finding treasure. You pop a ripe one into your mouth. It is warm from the sun, and the taste is a complex explosion of sweet and tart, a flavor that seems to contain all the energy of the brief, intense summer. You also gather the tall, thick stalks of wild angelica and the sharp, citrusy leaves of mountain sorrel. Your people have a clever use for the sorrel. Its acidic juice is mixed with fresh reindeer milk in a skin bag. The acid curdles the milk, creating a sour, tangy yogurt, like food that will keep for weeks, a fascinating piece of ancient food science. The most important work, however, is preservation. The fresh fish and plants are a luxury, but the dried and smoked food is your insurance policy for the winter. A temporary smokehouse is built, little more than a small conical tent frame, covered in hides. Inside, fillets of fish and thin strips of reindeer meat are hung from cross poles. A small smoldering fire of green alder wood is kept alive at the bottom, producing a thick, aromatic smoke, but very little heat. For days, the camp is filled with this sweet, pungent smell as the smoke slowly cures the meat and fish, protecting it from decay. Out in the open, great wooden racks are covered with salted fish left for the constant sea breeze, and the low, ever-present sun to dry them into a hard, lightweight food that will provide vital protein in the heart of winter. The racks are full of drying fish, their skins glittering like silver coins in the sun. The air is heavy with the sweet, acrid smell of the smokehouse. There is a deep feeling of security in this, a wealth that can be measured not in gold but in calories and days of survival. With the larder full and the future provided, for the mind has space for other things, for stories, for beliefs, for the world beyond the purely physical. With the camp well fed and the work of preservation underway, the frantic energy of survival gives way to a deeper, more contemplative state of being. You sit by the fire in the long, silvery twilight of the Arctic summer, and you feel the other world pressing close. For your people, the world is not divided into the living and the inanimate. Everything has a spirit, a presence. The gnarled birch tree that withstands the winter gales has a stubborn spirit. The river that gives you fish has a powerful, often fickle one. The land itself is alive, and your relationship with it is not one of ownership, but of a carefully negotiated, respectful coexistence. And the person who walks the fine line between your world and this world of spirits is the Fae Nadi Fae. There is an old woman in your camp, a distant relative, who holds this role. She is not a chief. She does not give orders. Her power is of a different kind. Most of the day she seems like any other elder, mending clothes or quietly observing the children. But sometimes you see her sitting alone on the rocks by the shore, her eyes unfocused, looking at something you cannot see. She is listening to the conversation of the wind and the waves, reading the portents in a raven's flight. She is the community's mediator, its spiritual anchor. Her work is essential. If a child falls ill with a sickness that familiar herbs cannot touch, it is believed their soul may have wandered off or been frightened away. It is the Fae Noadi Fae who must journey to find it. You have seen it once. The woman enters her Fae Vu Fae. The flap is closed, and soon you hear the low, hypnotic rhythm of her drumming, and her voice singing a Fae Joak that is not for human ears. It is a call to her spirit helpers, the spirit of a great pike that can swim in the rivers of the underworld, the spirit of a bird that can soar to the world above. In her deep trance, a state that is a kind of controlled temporary death, she travels through these other realms to bargain with the spirits and bring the lost soul home. This practice is ancient, a form of shamanism that stretches back to the earliest memories of your people. You know that the Fae Noadi Fae's work is sacred and vital, a way of maintaining the delicate balance upon which your entire existence depends. But you have heard stories, whispers carried by traders from the south of men in long black robes, who have a different god, a single jealous god who calls this power witchcraft and the work of evil. Historians of a future time will grapple with this brutal legacy, a centuries long campaign by outside states and churches to erase your beliefs. Was it a genuine theological conflict or a calculated political attempt to break the spirit of your people by destroying its spiritual leaders? You look at the old woman's calm, weathered face, her eyes holding a knowledge that is as deep as the sea, and you understand that her power is something that those who do not possess it would naturally fear and perhaps seek to destroy. Her role is not always so dramatic. Sometimes she is consulted to find a lost reindeer, or to divine where the best fishing will be next week. She keeps the community in right relationship with the land, reminding you which places are sacred and must not be disturbed, and what small offerings of salt or fat should be left to appease the local Fehalti, the spirits of the place. She is a healer, a prophet, and a diplomat to the unseen world. Her power is rooted in her vast knowledge and her sacred connections. And the key to those connections, the bridge between worlds, is held in the painted skin and bent wood frame of her most precious possession, the drum. One quiet afternoon, the old Fae Noadi Faye invites you into her Fei-Fei-Vu-Fei-Vu. She gestures for you to sit, and from a carefully protected spot at the back of the tent, the most sacred area, she unwraps a bundle of soft hide to reveal her drum. You have seen it from a distance, but to be this close is a rare honor. It is not just an instrument, it is a universe in miniature, a map of reality. The drum, or Fei-Goev des Fei, is oval, its frame. A single piece of pine bent into shape with steam and patience. A pale translucent reindeer skin is stretched taut across it, humming with a silent potential energy. The skin is not blank, it is covered in a web of intricate reddish, brown figures, a silent and complex story waiting to be read. She explains that the drawings are made with a dye from the bark of the alder tree, a plant with special power. The bark is chewed, mixing it with saliva, which is believed to infuse the dye with the very essence of the person making it. The resulting ink is then used to draw the symbols onto the skin. You look closely at the drawings. They are not random. The entire surface is divided into sections by a series of lines. She points with a finger to the top. This is the upper world, she says, the home of the benevolent gods, like the sun goddess who gives life. Her finger traces down to the center section, which is crowded with figures. This is our world, the middle world. You recognize symbols for your Fei-Fei-Vu-Fei for reindeer. A man on skis, a fish. There are also symbols for the great bear and the wolf, representing the powerful forces of nature you live alongside. Finally, she indicates the bottom section, the lower world, the realm of the dead and other more dangerous spirits. It is a complete cosmological chart, a diagram of all the forces seen and unseen that govern your life. She shows you the beater, a small hammer carved from reindeer antler in the shape of a T. Then she shows you the Fei-Pa-Fei, a small triangular piece of brass that sits on the drum's surface like a boat on a strange sea. The drum can tell us things, she says. Her voice is low. It helps us see what is hidden. She demonstrates asking a simple question aloud. Will the fishing be good tomorrow? She begins to tap the edge of the drum with the antler beater, a soft, steady rhythm like a slow heartbeat. The brass pointer begins to vibrate, to dance across the painted skin. It skitters across the surface, moving from one symbol to another. It brushes past the symbol for a storm, then moves toward the section of the drum representing the sea, where it comes to rest on the symbol of a fish. She stops drumming. The sea is willing, but we must watch for a change in the weather. The drum has provided an answer, a piece of sacred guidance. She points to another, more abstract symbol near the edge of the drum. This one warns of a family dispute, she explains. You nod, accepting the knowledge. But you are also aware that the precise meanings of many of these figures are a closely guarded secret passed down through a specific lineage of Fei-Noedi-Fei. To future generations, many of these drums, confiscated and placed in museums, will become a source of intense academic debate. So many were burned during the Christianization of Sami. So many elders took their full knowledge to the grave that the complete dictionary for this painted language is now fragmented. What remains for outsiders is a whisper, a beautiful and mysterious poem, with many missing verses. The drum in front of you contains an entire universe in a single silent picture. It is a map of all that is eternal. But outside the Fei-Fei-Vu-Fei, the world of seasons is not eternal. It is turning, and soon the land itself will begin to speak of the next part of the journey in a language even older than the one painted on this skin. The world of the drum is eternal, but the coastal summer is not. The change, when it comes, is not a sudden event, but a slow, quiet turning of a page. The first sign is the light. For weeks, the sun has been a constant companion, circling the sky without ever truly setting, creating a long, seamless day. But one evening you notice it. The sun dips below the western horizon, and for a brief, startling moment, the world is draped in true twilight. It only lasts for an hour or so before the sun rises again, but it is a promise of the darkness to come. The long days are now numbered. The quality of the light itself changes, losing its high white intensity and taking on a warmer golden hue that casts long, elegant shadows even at midday. The air, too, is different. The damp, heavy salt, laden breeze from the sea is often replaced by a cooler, crisper wind blowing from the east, from the inland mountains. It carries a new scent, not of pollen and life, but of drying leaves and cool, damp earth. You pull your furs a little tighter in the morning. The constant, maddening hum of mosquitoes and blackflies, which had been the soundtrack to the peak of summer, has faded to a faint whisper, the first cool nights having decimated their numbers. It is a welcome relief, but also a somber milestone. The season of easy living is ending. You look out at the tundra and its color palette has shifted. The vibrant, almost aggressive green of the summer growth is softening, giving way to yellows, oranges, and deep rusty reds as the leaves of the dwarf willows and birches begin to turn. The juicy cloudberries are long gone, their brief season over. Now you gather the hardier, darker berries like the deep purple crowberry, which will cling to their branches long into the first snows. The land is withdrawing its offerings, preparing for its long sleep. But as always, it is the reindeer that read the signs most clearly. A new restlessness enters the herd, different from the eager forward, pulling energy of the spring. They begin to spend less time grazing on the grasses near the shore, and more time facing east, their sensitive noses held high, sniffing that wind from the mountains. Their ancient internal clock, governed by the shortening of the days, is telling them it is time. The rut is approaching, and their instincts are screaming at them to return to the sheltered inland forests where they will spend the winter. You see the herd's new obsession with the mushrooms that have sprung up in the cool, damp earth after the late summer rains. They seek them out with a frantic, single-minded focus, their sensitive lips delicately plucking them from the moss. Biologists of the future will debate the primary driver for this return migration. Is it the looming threat of the coming winter, a desperate race against the deepening snow? Or is it this powerful pull of autumnal foods, a search for the specific nutrients the mushrooms provide to build fat and strength for the coming rut? As you watch a large bull ignore lush grass to seek out a patch of fungi, you suspect the two reasons are one and the same thing: survival. The elders of the different facies see it too. Their councils by the fire are no longer about sharing news of the summer, but about the condition of the inland trails. The great coastal party is over. The time has come to pack away the fishing nets, to secure the last of the dried meat, and to turn your faces from the sea. The mountains are calling you home. The departure from the coast is the mirror image of your arrival. A slow, deliberate packing, a dismantling of the temporary homes, a turning of backs on the sea. But the atmosphere could not be more different. The eager forward, pulling energy of the spring migration is gone, replaced by something more chaotic, primal, and loud. The journey home begins under the sign of the Fagat Fay, the autumn rut. The peace of the summer is shattered by the sound of clashing antlers and the guttural roars of the great bulls. The male reindeer, the Fay have spent the summer in quiet preparation for this moment. They have feasted on the rich coastal grasses, building layers of fat, and they have grown their magnificent antlers, which until recently were covered in a soft blood, rich skin called velvet. Now that velvet has been rubbed off against rocks and willow shrubs, revealing the hard, polished bone beneath. These are not decorations, they are weapons, and the bulls are eager to use them. As the herd begins its slow move inland, the air fills with a deep, rattling, grunting sound, a continuous challenge issued from the throats of the dominant bulls. Your role as a herder is transformed. You are no longer the guardian of a vulnerable but placid flock. You are now the manager of a rolling, week-long brawl. You ski on the flanks, keeping a respectful distance. The bulls, consumed by hormones, are unpredictable and dangerous. You watch as two great males face off. They posture and circle each other, their massive necks swollen, their breath pluming like smoke in the crisp autumn air. Then, with a sudden crash that echoes across the tundra, their antlers lock. It is a contest of pure strength and endurance. They push and twist their hooves, churning the mossy ground, each trying to force the other back. The sound of bone striking bone is sharp and percussive, a sound you can feel in your teeth. You watch a particularly large bull, his antlers like a polished thorny throne, successfully defend his harem of females. Your father might make a quiet comment about the bull's strength, marking him in his mind for the future. Herders and geneticists will one day debate how actively your ancestors shaped their herds. Did you practice deliberate selective breeding, culling aggressive or weak bulls to improve the genetic stock? Or did you simply trust the ancient brutal logic of the rut to ensure that only the very strongest passed on their traits? The truth, you know, is a quiet collaboration. You let the bulls prove their own worth in this great contest, but your family always reserves the right to make the final judgment. The bulls are so consumed by this primal drama that they barely eat. They run on the fuel of their summer, feasting, their bodies growing leaner and harder with each passing day. Your job, and the job of your tireless dog, is to simply keep this chaotic mass of animals moving in the right general direction. You nudge the edges of the herd, turning back the groups of females that a bull might try to lead astray, ensuring the entire Faceita phase herd remains a single, albeit dysfunctional entity. After a week of relentless noise and conflict, a fragile, exhausted order begins to emerge. The victors guard their newly won harems, their sides heaving with exhaustion. The losers trail sullenly at the rear, their battles lost for this year. The constant roaring subsides to a weary grumbling. The great drama is mostly over, but the herd is tired. The first snowflakes are beginning to drift down from a gray sky, and the true safety of the winter forest is still a long, hard journey away. The first snows of autumn are not like the heavy, wet snow of the spring thaw. They are fine, dry, and crystalline, dusting the landscape in a thin layer of white that glitters in the low sun. The chaos of the rut has passed, leaving a weary calm over the herd as it moves steadily eastward, deeper into the vast interior. The journey is now governed by a quiet, inexorable logic. To an outsider, the path you take might seem inefficient, a meandering, wandering line. But you know that this route is a masterpiece of accumulated wisdom, a solution to a complex problem that has been refined over 1,000 years. The first layer of this logic is simple geography. The path wins because the land is not flat. You follow the gentle curve of a valley to avoid a steep climb that would exhaust the already tired herd. You trace the edge of a frozen marsh rather than crossing its treacherous, uneven ground. You cross a river not at its narrowest, most direct point, but a mile upstream where it is wide, shallow, and the banks are low. This is the logic of the body, the conservation of precious energy for the long journey still ahead. Every climb avoided, every obstacle bypassed is a deposit in your bank of survival. The second layer of logic is ecological. The route is not just a path, it is a pantry. You dip south into a particular basin of hills not to avoid a mountain, but because you know that the trees on the north-facing slopes are covered in a specific type of dark hair, like lichen. This lichen, unlike the ground-dwelling kind, is still accessible even after the first snows have covered the earth, providing a crucial meal for the herd. You follow the winding bank of a stream, because the willows that grow there have bark that the reindeer can strip and eat, a source of vital nutrients. Modern ecologists call this optimal foraging theory. The idea that animals, and by extension, the humans who follow them instinctively, choose routes that provide the most calories for the least effort. Scholars debate whether this is a conscious calculation or a deeply ingrained instinct. For you, there is no debate. You don't calculate the path. You remember it. You follow the story. The land tells you a story your grandfather told you. The third and deepest layer of logic is that of ancestral memory. You follow this path because it is Fei path. It is the route that has been tested and proven by generations. It represents a perfect time, honed balance between safety from predators, access to food, and efficiency of movement. There are stories attached to every landmark. That oddly shaped boulder is where a great bear was killed long ago. That sparse forest is a place to move through quickly, as wolves often den nearby. This collective memory shared between your people and the instincts of the reindeer themselves creates an invisible, indelible map on the landscape. To deviate from it would be to discard the wisdom of your ancestors, an act of unimaginable arrogance. The logic of the path has served you well. It has been efficient. It has provided sustenance. It has kept you safe. But as you push eastward, the snow begins to fall more steadily. The air grows colder, and the wind develops a familiar biting edge that speaks of the deep winter to come. The landscape is becoming simpler, harder. The best route in the world is no longer enough. Survival now will depend less on the wisdom of the path, and more on the skill of your own two hands, and the quality of the things you have made to protect you from the cold. The snow falls more heavily now, a thick, silent curtain that forces the herd to a halt. You make a temporary camp in the shelter of a dense grove of mountain birch, their branches already heavy with white. This is an enforced pause, a gift of time. The great forward moving energy of the migration is temporarily suspended, and your focus turns inward to your gear and the skill of your own two hands. This is the time for Fei Duoji Fei, the Sami tradition of craft. It is a philosophy as much as a skill, a belief that an object should be both useful and beautiful, and that you should have the ability to make and mend the things your life depends on. You find a sheltered spot out of the wind and take stock of your equipment. The long journey has taken its toll. A seam on your sealskin mitten has started to fray. One of the antler toggles that fastens your Fei polka face cover has a crack in it. These are small problems, but in the deep winter to come, a small problem can quickly become a catastrophe. A failed mitten can lead to frostbite. A lost cargo cover can lead to ruined supplies. Self-sufficiency is not a hobby. It is the bedrock of your existence. From a leather pouch you take out your mending kit. It contains no metal save for the small blade of your knife. The needles are carved from bird bone, polished smooth and sharp. Your thread is a remarkable material, dried reindeer sinew, harvested from the long muscle that runs along the animal's spine. The sinew is dried, and then patiently split with a thumbnail into threads of varying thickness, each one possessing incredible strength. You rethread a bone needle and set to work on the mitten. Your stitches are small and tight, a skill learned through years of practice. You are using a special hide for the patch taken from the lower leg of a reindeer. The hair on this part of the skin is incredibly durable and grows in one direction, which will help shed snow. This intimate knowledge of your materials, knowing which part of the animal is best for which task, is a critical part of fei. Once the sewing is done, you take a piece of antler left over from last year's hunt. With your knife you begin to carve a new toggle. The work is slow and meditative. The blade scrapes away thin shavings of the hard, dense material, which has a clean, chalky smell. You are not just carving a functional shape, you are making it pleasing to the eye. You carve a swirling, circular pattern into the surface. It is beautiful, but it is not purely decoration. The deep grooves will also improve your grip when your hands are cold and clumsy. To your people, the line between beauty and function is almost meaningless. An object that works well fei beautiful by its very nature. Art historians of the future will debate where fei fits into their neat classifications. Is it ethnic craft or fine art? The question would seem absurd to you. It is simply a well-made thing that will not fail you when you need it most. You test the new seam on your mitten, pulling it hard. It holds. The small repair is complete. You drill a hole in the new toggle and attach it to the sled cover. You are not just a passenger on this journey. You are your own mechanic, your own tailor, your own provider. All around the small snowy camp, others are engaged in the same quiet, focused work. With your gear restored, and the snow beginning to let up, a renewed sense of confidence settles over you. You are ready for the final push for the deep woods that lie ahead, the place that promises the safety of your winter home. With your gear repaired and your resolve renewed, the journey resumes. The character of the land begins to change dramatically. You are leaving the high open windswept tundra behind, descending into the great boreal forests of the interior. The horizon, which has been a vast unbroken line for months, is now replaced by the dark jagged silhouettes of pine and spruce trees. The world, which was wide and expansive, becomes enclosed, intimate. The wind no longer scours the landscape. It sighs and whispers through the high branches, its force blunted by the density of the woods. The snow is deeper here, a soft powdery cushion protected from the wind's sculpting power. The herd seems to sense the end of the journey. They move with a calm, deliberate purpose, their footfalls muffled by the snow. They are heading for a specific place, a traditional wintering ground nestled deep in the forest. A place that offers the three things necessary for survival: shelter, fuel, and food. After 2 more days of travel you arrive. You stand at the edge of a clearing, a shallow bowl in the landscape, bordered by thick stands of ancient pine, and near a frozen lake whose surface is a sheet of wind-swept ice. The trees are heavy with snow, their branches drooping, and from many hang long greenish, gray beards of lichen, a critical winter food source for the herd. This is the place, the end of the line. There is no great celebration, only a quiet collective sigh of relief. The work of setting up camp begins immediately, but with a different feeling than before. This is not a temporary stop for a single night. This is home for the next 4 months. The fei are erected with care, their positions chosen to take advantage of natural windbreaks. You might reinforce the base with a low wall of packed snow to provide extra insulation. A large pile of firewood, dead and dry pine gathered from the forest floor, is established. It is a slow, methodical process of creating a small island of human warmth and order in a vast frozen wilderness. Some historians imagine these winter camps as static little villages frozen in place until the spring. But others studying the complex grazing patterns of reindeer argue that life was never truly still. You will have this central camp, your base, but you know that small groups will likely take portions of the herd on short journeys throughout the winter. A migration to a nearby valley where the lichen is still plentiful. The great journey is over, but the need to move, to seek, never truly ends. It just changes its scale. By evening, the camp is established. The reindeer have dispersed into the silent woods to begin their slow, patient foraging. You sit inside your fei-fei-vu, fei the central fire, casting a warm, flickering glow on the hide walls. The familiar, comforting smells of wood smoke, reindeer hide, and brewing tea fill the small space. Outside, the world has gone profoundly quiet. The snow-laden trees absorb all sound, creating a silence that is deeper and more insulating than anything you experienced on the open tundra. The only sound is the hiss of the fire and the soft rhythmic breathing of your family members. The great circular journey that began with the first tentative signs of spring has finally come to a close. You have crossed the mountains, faced the wolves, raised a new generation, and returned. You are home. Now all that is left to do is endure, and to wait. The darkness of the deep winter, the fei is not like any other darkness. It is a profound and complete absence of the sun, a state of being that lasts for weeks on end. The world becomes a landscape of moonlight and starlight on snow. Life contracts, folding in on itself, conserving its energy. Your days are short and simple, marked by the essential tasks. A brief cold walk to check on the herd. The rhythmic work of an axe as you gather firewood, the quiet focus of mending a tool. But the nights are long, vast oceans of time. This is when the life of the mind, the life of the community, truly flourishes. Inside the fei-fei-vu fei, the small fire is the only sun. Your family gathers close around it, the flickering light, casting dancing shadows on the hide walls. The world outside, with its impossible cold and deep silence, ceases to exist. All of reality is contained in this small, warm circle. And into this circle, the elders pour the stories. With no books to read, the memory of your people is a living library. And the long, dark nights are the time for sharing its contents. Your grandfather clears his throat and begins a story you have heard a dozen times before, but you listen with the same rapt attention as the first time. He tells stories of the creation of the world. He tells the epic tales of great migrations of the past, of heroic ancestors and famously clever reindeer. He tells funny stories about Stallo, the clumsy, slow-witted giant of the wilderness that a clever Sami can always outsmart. And he tells cautionary tales, the most important of all. These are not just fables, they are textbooks for survival. They're lessons wrapped in narrative. You listen to a long story about a man who grew arrogant and disrespected the spirit of the great bear and the terrible fate that befell him. The lesson, to always approach nature with humility and respect, is woven into the very fabric of the thrilling tale. On some nights, the stories are in the sky. You step outside the fei-fei-vu fei and the heavens are alive. Shifting silent curtains of green and white light ripple across the stars. This is the fei-guafsahasat fei, the northern lights. To you, this is no mere atmospheric phenomenon. The stories say the lights are the spirits of ancestors, particularly those who died a sudden or violent death. They are beautiful, but they are not to be trifled with. Your grandmother has warned you since you were a small child. You must be quiet and respectful in their presence. You must never wave, whistle, or sing to them. To do so is to draw their attention, and they might reach down their ethereal fingers wrapping around you and carry you away into the sky. Folklorists of a future time will debate the function of such beliefs. Are they simple superstitions, a way to give meaning to a mysterious and powerful celestial event? Or do they encode a deeper practical wisdom? A way of discouraging children from wandering too far from the safety of the camp on a bright, cold night when one could easily get lost. As you watch a pale green ribbon of light twist itself into a knot directly overhead, you feel a sense of profound awe and you pull your furs a little tighter. The stories fill the darkness, making the small, warm space of your fei-fei-vu fei feel like the very center of the universe. But later, as you lie down to sleep, you hear a familiar, comforting sound through the hide wall. The soft grunt of a reindeer and the scrape of its hoof as it digs for lichen in the snow. It is a sound that grounds you back in the physical world, a reminder of the quiet, enduring animal soul that makes all of this, the warmth, the stories, the survival, possible. That quiet, rhythmic sound of a reindeer foraging in the snow is the true heartbeat of the winter camp. It is a sound of peace, of continuity of life, enduring against the cold. In these long, still months, your thoughts turn often to the soul of the herd, the profound and complex relationship that defines your entire existence. A southern farmer owns his cattle. He puts them in a field, feeds them, and takes their milk and meat. It is a relationship of clear ownership. Yours is not so simple. You do not truly feel you own the reindeer. You feel you are in a partnership, a pact. You are their guardian, protecting them from wolves and weather. But they are your guides, leading you along the ancient paths and teaching you the rhythms of the seasons. You provide protection, they provide a universe. It is a symbiosis so total that it feels sacred. You look at the calm, dark liquid eyes of a reindeer resting near the camp, and you feel a connection that goes beyond that of a keeper and their stock. Anthropologists of a later age will debate the great psychological shift that came with domestication. Did your ancestors feel a sense of power of finally mastering a piece of wild nature? Or did the immense crushing responsibility of caring for an entire herd forge a deeper, more anxious and more intimate bond, a form of kinship? You feel it is the latter. You do not feel like a master. You feel like a debtor forever, grateful for the impossible gift the reindeer provides, the gift of life in a frozen world. Everything you have, everything you are comes from them. Think of it, the tough supple hide of your boots and your thick winter parka shielding you from the lethal wind. The very walls of your fei your home are made of their skin. The needles you sew with are their bones. The thread you use is their sinew. The handles of your most essential tools are carved from their antlers. The sled that carried you here was pulled by them. And of course there is the food. The meat that gives you strength, the rich milk that nourished you as a child, the rendered fat that provides precious energy. The reindeer is the walking, breathing, living source of your entire material world. Without them, human life in this place would be impossible. This connection is so deep it is woven into your cosmology. In some of the old stories, the sun itself is seen as a great white female reindeer eternally running across the sky, bringing warmth and light to the world. The source of all life in the heavens is imagined as the creature that is the source of all life on earth. A person's wealth and standing in the community is not measured in land or gold, but in the size and health of their herd. To be without reindeer is to be truly poor, to be adrift from the community, to have lost your place in the circular logic of the world. The soul of your people is inextricably tied to the soul of the herd. When they are healthy, your community is healthy. When a new generation of calves is born, it is a sign of your own renewal. This deep, unbreakable bond is the essence of being Sami. It is a philosophy you live every single day. And nowhere is this philosophy more beautifully expressed than in the things you create with your hands, the art of fei, where the gift of the reindeer is transformed into the tools and treasures of your life. To honor the gift of the reindeer is to waste nothing. But the philosophy of fei goes deeper than that. It is also a promise to transform that gift into something worthy. To make a tool that is clumsy or a piece of clothing that is ugly is to show disrespect for the spirit of the animal that provided the materials. And so in the quiet, focused stillness of the winter camp, you and your family engage in the slow, meditative work of creating objects of both perfect function and profound beauty. This is not a hobby, it is a central pillar of your culture. You hold your father's knife in your hands, feeling its perfect balance. The blade is short, wide, and brutally sharp, a practical tool for everything from skinning a reindeer to carving a sled runner. But the handle is where the artistry lives. It is a seamless marriage of dark oiled birchwood and creamy white reindeer antler. The wood is warm to the touch, while the antler provides strength and a place for decoration. Intricate swirling geometric patterns are incised into the antler sections. You trace one with your finger. It is your family's pattern. Your father told you it represents the circular migration of the herd. Some scholars of the future will say these patterns are purely decorative, a celebration of symmetry. But others will argue they are the ghosts of an older language, the sacred symbols from the forbidden shaman's drums. Their meaning simplified and hidden over time. You do not know if the pattern holds ancient power, but you know it holds your identity. It tells the world who you are. Perhaps no object better embodies the spirit of fei than the fei, your personal wooden cup. You are carving a new one for your younger brother. You started with a rare and precious material, a birch burl, a gnarled, disordered growth on the side of a tree. The wood grain in a burl is dense and twisted, making it incredibly strong and unlikely to crack. The process is one of patience. You have already hollowed out the basic shape and are now slowly refining it, the shavings of wood falling like fragrant dust onto your furs. Once the shape is perfect, it will be cured by boiling it for hours in salt water and then rubbing it with fat, a slow, tedious process that makes the wood waterproof and durable for a lifetime. The finished object is a masterpiece of design. Its two-finger handle allows you to hold it securely even with a gloved hand. The wood is so insulating that you can pour boiling tea into it and drink without burning your lips, and in the depths of winter your lips won't freeze to its edge. It is lightweight, durable, and deeply personal. Every person in your Facieta Fey has their own Feiguxi Fey, and to drink from another's without permission is a serious breach of etiquette. It is more than a cup. It is a companion. You hold the nearly finished Feiguxi Fey in your hands. It is warm, smooth, and fits your grip perfectly. A piece of the forest transformed by your skill into a lifelong tool. These objects you create, your knife, your cup, your clothing, are your interface with the winter world. They are your armor against the cold, your tangible connection to the generations of ancestors who perfected their design, and your tools for engaging with the vast, silent, and monochromatic world that lies just outside the hide flap of your Fei-Fei-Vu Fei, a world made almost entirely of snow. You step outside the Fei-Vu Fei into a world of profound stillness and infinite white. To an outsider, this landscape is a uniform, monotonous emptiness. But to you, it is a complex and intricately detailed text, and the language it is written in is snow. You have been immersed in it for so long that you understand it on a level that a southerner could never grasp. There is no such thing as just snow. That is a word for people who do not have to live in it. Your world is made of a dozen different kinds of snow, each with its own name, its own character, and its own set of rules. You walk toward the forest edge. The snow under your boots makes a loud, high-pitched squeaking sound. This tells you the temperature is very low. This is Feigwoldu. Fei, a fine, dry, almost smoke-like powder. It is the coldest snow, the kind that a blizzard can whip into a blinding whiteout that saps the warmth from your body in minutes. Further on, the wind has scoured the ground, creating a hard, polished, almost concrete-like surface. This is Feiavi Fei wind. Packed snow so dense you can walk on it without leaving a footprint. It is excellent for traveling on skis, but terrible for the reindeer, as their hooves cannot break through it to reach the lichen beneath. Near the trees, the snow is different again. It is deep and soft without a crust. This is Feilacid Fei loose snow. It is a beautiful, pristine blanket, but it is exhausting to move through, and it can hide dangers like fallen branches or deep holes. The reindeer, however, can dig through it with ease. Knowing the difference between Feiavi Fei and Feilasat. Fei is the difference between an easy journey and a potential disaster. Your language is a survival tool. The ability to tell another herder that the path ahead is covered in a dangerous crust of Feiskerta, Fei, a hard layer of refrozen snow on top of soft powder, is not a casual weather report. It is life-saving information. This deep, nuanced vocabulary shapes the way you see the world. It is a question that philosophers of language will debate endlessly in the future. Does the language you speak simply reflect your reality, or does it actively shape it? Do you have so many words for snow because there are so many distinct types, or do you perceive so many distinct types because your language has given you the mental categories to sort them into? Does the language build the world, or does the world build the language? The question feels like a circle to you, as perfect and endless as the horizon. All you know is that you can see, feel, and hear a half-dozen different types of snow just in the clearing around your camp, each one telling you something important about the day. For months you have lived in this silent white world, learning its subtle grammar, respecting its moods, speaking its language. The sun has been a pale ghost. But today, as you look at the way the light falls on a drift of hard-packed Feijiavi, you see a new sheen on its surface. A faint, almost imperceptible wetness that was not there yesterday. You turn your face to the south, and the weak sunlight on your cheek feels a fraction warmer, its touch lingering a moment longer than it did last week. It is a tiny, almost unnoticeable change, the smallest of signs. But after a lifetime of reading this language, you understand its meaning perfectly. It is the first word in a new and hopeful sentence. The long, deep sleep of the world is ending. The sun is coming back. You step outside the Fei-Vu Fei into a world of profound stillness and infinite white. To an outsider, this landscape is a uniform, monotonous emptiness. But to you, it is a complex and intricately detailed text, and the language it is written in is snow. You have been immersed in it for so long that you understand it on a level that a southerner could never grasp. There is no such thing as just snow. That is a word for people who do not have to live in it. Your world is made of a dozen different kinds of snow, each with its own name, its own character, and its own set of rules. You walk toward the forest edge. The snow under your boots makes a loud, high-pitched squeaking sound. This tells you the temperature is very low. This is Fei Guoldu. Fei, a fine, dry, almost smoke-like powder. It is the coldest snow, the kind that a blizzard can whip into a blinding whiteout that saps the warmth from your body in minutes. Further on, the wind has scoured the ground, creating a hard, polished, almost concrete-like surface. This is Fei Yavi. Fei wind-packed snow, so dense you can walk on it without leaving a footprint. It is excellent for traveling on skis, but terrible for the reindeer, as their hooves cannot break through it to reach the lichen beneath. Near the trees, the snow is different again. It is deep and soft without a crust. This is Fei Losset Fei Loose snow. It is a beautiful, pristine blanket, but it is exhausting to move through, and it can hide dangers like fallen branches or deep holes. The reindeer, however, can dig through it with ease. Knowing the difference between Fei Fei and Fei Losset. Fei is the difference between an easy journey and a potential disaster. Your language is a survival tool. The ability to tell another herder that the path ahead is covered in a dangerous crust of Fei Skerda, Fei, a hard layer of refrozen snow on top of soft powder, is not a casual weather report. It is life-saving information. This deep, nuanced vocabulary shapes the way you see the world. It is a question that philosophers of language will debate endlessly in the future. Does the language you speak simply reflect your reality, or does it actively shape it? Do you have so many words for snow because there are so many distinct types, or do you perceive so many distinct types because your language has given you the mental categories to sort them into? Does the language build the world, or does the world build the language? The question feels like a circle to you, as perfect and endless as the horizon. All you know is that you can see, feel, and hear a half-dozen different types of snow just in the clearing around your camp, each one telling you something important about the day. For months you have lived in this silent white world, learning its subtle grammar, respecting its moods, speaking its language. The sun has been a pale ghost. But today, as you look at the way the light falls on a drift of hard-packed Fei Jayavi, you see a new sheen on its surface, a faint, almost imperceptible wetness that was not there yesterday. You turn your face to the south, and the weak sunlight on your cheek feels a fraction warmer, its touch lingering a moment longer than it did last week. It is a tiny, almost unnoticeable change, the smallest of signs. But after a lifetime of reading this language, you understand its meaning perfectly. It is the first word in a new and hopeful sentence. The long, deep sleep of the world is ending. The sun is coming back.